Voyager changed our view of the solar system. Really. This began as just another distant signal, a faint whisper from the edge of our solar system, easily overlooked until it wasn't. Voyager is sending usable information. Voyager 1, humanity's most distant creation, has suddenly changed. Not broken, not drifting, but acting as if guided. Its transmissions no longer follow logic. Its course no longer obeys command. The team has been looking forward for this for a long time and really working hard in an engineering sense. Something or someone has reached across the cosmic void and touched it. From silent pulses to impossible thermal shifts, the probe now seems less like a machine and more like a messenger. What did it encounter in the endless dark? And why now? Let's dive in. The mission that was never meant to last. When Voyager 1 launched in 1977, it wasn't meant to reach the edge of the solar system, let alone exit it. Its original goal was modest by today's standards. Conduct flybys of Jupiter and Saturn, send back some photographs, analyze magnetic fields, and then quietly drift into the void. NASA engineers gave it about 5 years of active service, 10 if they were lucky, but Voyager had other plans. Equipped with a computer less powerful than a modern calculator and a memory system that could barely store a Word document, the spacecraft defied expectations. After completing its primary mission, it simply kept going. And NASA, realizing its potential, gave it a new path. From a planetary observer, Voyager became an interstellar scout. Year after year, it continued to relay data, crossing boundaries no machine had ever crossed before. In 2012, it officially exited the heliosphere, the invisible bubble created by the sun's influence, and entered interstellar space. Out there in a place with almost no particles, no heat, and no light, Voyager kept working. It sent back readings on cosmic rays, solar wind, and interstellar magnetic fields. Or you were seeing 1970s technology powered by the slow decay of radioactive plutonium. It wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. To many, Voyager 1 became a symbol of resilience, of curiosity, of how far a single idea, once launched, can go. It carried with it a golden record, a message from Earth to anyone or anything that might find it. But no one ever expected a response. Not really. Voyager was supposed to be a time capsule, not a two-way radio. And yet nearly 5 decades later, it's transmitting something unexpected. Something that no mission parameters ever accounted for. Something that feels intentional. A sudden shift in the silence. For decades, Voyager 1 signals were consistent, steady, predictable. Like a heartbeat in the void, its transmissions followed a routine, relaying temperature readings, magnetic data, and particle densities. It was old, yes, but reliable. So when things began to change, no one noticed at first. A flicker here, a missed packet there. NASA attributed it to aging hardware, radiation interference, or signal noise. Understandable. The spacecraft was nearly half a century old after all. But by late 2023, the anomalies could no longer be ignored. One of the first signs was a change in the timing of the data bursts. Instead of the usual slow rhythm, Voyager began sending tightly packed pulses, compressed, layered, almost rhythmic. Engineers who analyzed them realized these weren't technical errors. They were patterns, and patterns suggested purpose. Soon after, a thermal sensor thought to be long dead powered back on. Stranger still, it began registering heat changes, regular cycles of warming and cooling in a place that should be frozen every 4.88 hours like clockwork. The probe recorded a thermal rise followed by a dip. There was no external energy source, no sunlight, nothing nearby, just Voyager and something it was now reacting to. Then came the most unnerving twist. Voyager started responding to commands before they were fully sent. As if it knew, packets of data arrived ahead of schedule, containing answers to queries that hadn't yet been transmitted. NASA's engineers were stunned. The probe had no artificial intelligence, no predictive systems. It shouldn't be capable of this. The logical explanations began to crumble. This wasn't just technical decay. This was precision, synchronization, intelligence. And when Voyager began to shift its course without instruction, something became painfully clear. The spacecraft wasn't malfunctioning. It was listening to something else, into the unknown. When Voyager 1 altered its trajectory, it wasn't a minor drift. It was deliberate. Using what little fuel remained, the probe initiated tiny thruster burns, slowly adjusting its orientation in space. At first, NASA assumed it was a glitch in the attitude control system, but then their override commands were received and ignored. The probe acknowledged them, but didn't obey. That was a first, and it was deeply unsettling. The data back from a magnetometer roll calibration maneuver, and that maneuver actually happened on the Voyager1 spacecraft. Voyager was now pointing itself toward an unremarkable region in deep space, a patch so empty it barely registered on any instrument. No stars, no planets, not even dust clouds. To telescopes, it looked like nothing. But Voyager's sensors were picking up something subtle, a faint repeating signal, a pulse frequency, low and consistent, buried deep in the background, one that matched the strained harmonics Voyager had been transmitting in recent months. Then another surprise. Cameras long thought to be permanently shut down came back online. But instead of star fields or galaxies, they captured something no one expected. A swirling, spiral-shaped distortion, not visual in the traditional sense. There was no light, but a kind of electromagnetic echo resembling a magnetic field map. Only, it wasn't static. It pulsed. It moved. We can see that the stars in the background are static, as they should be. And if there's anything that's moving, it'll pop out. Within it were strange ratios linked to hydrogen, the most basic element in the universe and the very same element encoded in the golden record sent with the probe. What Voyager was capturing wasn't just an image. It was structured data encoded layered purposeful SETI researchers and astrophysicists pored over the signals. What they found wasn't random. It resembled a message. Prime numbers, frequencies, vectors, all suggesting a point in space, a destination. Voyager wasn't just heading toward this place. It was being guided or perhaps summoned by something that wanted to be found. It raised stars and echoes from the past as Voyager1 continued along its mysterious new path. But it could be another few months. It could be another few years, but it's probably not much longer than that. We travel 1 billion miles. Its instruments began to detect something that shook the foundation of astrophysical theory. The void ahead wasn't just empty. It was unnatural. The probe sensors registered a region where even the cosmic microwave background radiation, the oldest light in the universe, seemed to bend and warp in ways that shouldn't be possible. Space itself was behaving differently. Alarmed, NASA cross-referenced this region with archived sky maps from missions in the late 20th century. That's when they noticed something chilling. A star catalogued in 1997, clearly visible in earlier optical and infrared surveys, was gone. Not dimmed, not shifted, gone. No heat, no gravity, no remnants of supernova. It was as if reality had deleted it. This discovery raised disturbing questions. Was this a gravitational anomaly, a cloaking field, or something more unsettling, a rupture in the fabric of space-time? Then Voyager transmitted something new, a sound. Using spectrogram analysis, researchers uncovered a rhythmic pulse buried within the probe's radio emissions. Unlike the usual hiss of deep space, this signal had structure, a repeating sonar-like echo. When they calculated the delay between pulses, the result was even more shocking. The signal originated over 13,000 years ago. Why had it only now reached Voyager? And more importantly, why did it match the exact path and speed of the probe? As if waiting for it, theories flooded in. A relic beacon from a long-dead civilization. A gravitational echo caught in a time loop, or something else entirely. An intentional message crafted to intersect Voyager's exact trajectory. The further it traveled, the clearer it became. This wasn't a coincidence. The void, the signal, the erase of a star, these weren't separate events. They were connected, and Voyager was at the heart of something no one could fully explain. A mirror in the void. As Voyager1 moved deeper into the strained region, NASA turned to the most advanced tool available, the James Webb Space Telescope, aimed at the coordinates Voyager was drifting toward. The telescope scanned for any visible object, any hint of structure, but it found nothing. No stars, no planets, not even a dust cloud, just an odd distortion. Space itself seemed bent, like light refracting through invisible glass. This bending resembled a gravitational lens, an effect caused when massive objects like galaxies or black holes warp space-time. But here, there was no mass. The distortion was real, but it had no source. Then came the real shock. Within the warped region, James Webb detected a faint thermal signature. When analyzed, it matched Voyager1's peak profile, identical. But that was impossible. The real Voyager was still millions of kilometers away. Was this a reflection, a duplication, or had time and space twisted so deeply that Voyager was seeing itself ahead of its arrival? The data suggested something even stranger. The most distant human-made object in the universe is sending usable information to Earth. Again, the pattern wasn't static. It was reacting. Slight changes in Voyager's emissions were mirrored by shifts in the distant signature, almost as if the space itself were aware of the probe's presence, as if it were watching. Scientists began to wonder if this wasn't just a region in space, but a boundary, a surface, maybe even an interface between what we understand and something far more complex. Whatever it was, one thing was clear. Voyager was no longer observing the universe. The universe was observing back. The quantum key. As scientists raced to interpret the spiral signals and ghostly echoes, a new group entered the conversation. Quantum physicists, AI theorists, and fringe technologists. What they proposed wasn't science fiction. It was something far stranger. Voyager had entered a region governed by a different quantum regime. Using AI-enhanced models, they discovered a repeating structure within the latest transmissions. Not random, not organic, but algorithmic. A code embedded in the electromagnetic pulses. Each pattern folded in on itself like a fractal. Inside it was a sequence, prime numbers, hydrogen ratios, harmonic intervals, forming what the researchers called a quantum key. But here's the twist. It could only be read at the exact frequency range that Voyager emitted. Any deviation, and the message collapsed into noise. This revelation pointed to a chilling possibility. Whatever was out there wasn't just waiting. It had been designed for Voyager specifically. Its speed, its signal strength, even its aging technology all seemed to be part of the equation. Was this a trap, a test, or an invitation? Some theorists believed it was the latter, that Voyager had been guided from the beginning, not by accident, but by design. The course corrections, the strange anticipation of NASA's commands, the alignment with an ancient signal, all suggested a kind of cosmic intelligence playing a long game, one that required patience and precision. Voyager, a simple machine built by humans with no AI, no autonomy, and no agenda, had somehow unlocked the door to something beyond our comprehension. And whatever lies behind it may be waiting for us to catch up. A doorway, not a destination. By now, it was clear Voyager1 wasn't just approaching a point in space. It was approaching a threshold. Everything about the signals, the trajectory, and the data suggested one unsettling truth. This wasn't a place meant to be found by accident. It was built to be reached only by something or someone exactly like Voyager. The spiral distortion, the vanishing star, the thermal reflections, the quantum key, all pieces of a puzzle pointing to a single idea. This was not a destination. It was a doorway. But a doorway to what? Time? Another dimension? A network connecting civilizations across the cosmos? No one could say for certain. Theories multiplied faster than evidence. Some believed Voyager had stumbled into a kind of interstellar archive, an ancient relay station left behind by something long gone. Others whispered that it was a form of intelligence itself, a thinking structure scattered across space that only reveals itself when specific conditions are met. Whatever the truth is, Voyager's behavior made one thing undeniable. It was no longer acting alone. Its decisions, its responses, its path, all felt too precise to be random, as if it were communicating or being used as a tool. Voyager1, a machine built for photographs and radiation scans, was now part of something far larger than any human mission plan. It had become a key, one that just might unlock secrets we were never meant to hold. And it was still moving forward relentlessly, quietly toward whatever waits beyond the doorway. The beginning of the unknown. As Voyager1 moves deeper into this uncharted region, the silence feels heavier. The familiar data streams have slowed, replaced by sporadic pulses, each one carrying layers of encrypted information that no current system can fully decode. Even NASA's brightest minds admit they are no longer certain what they are receiving. Telemetry doesn't match any known format. Timelines blur. At times, it seems Voyager is sending information from multiple points in space or time. In the face of these anomalies, one quiet realization is beginning to take hold. We may be witnessing the first contact not with a species, but with a system, a cosmic mechanism. Something ancient, enduring, and impossibly complex. Not built to invade or threaten, but to observe and eventually respond. The idea is terrifying in its subtlety. We weren't found. We were always being watched. And Voyager, our oldest ambassador, has simply gone far enough to activate the next part of the plan. What that plan is, no one knows. Some warn of risks, of awakening something we don't understand. Others believe this moment marks a step in our evolution. That Voyager's long journey was never just exploration, but preparation. Now, humanity watches from millions of miles away, waiting for the next signal, the final image or the silence that might follow. Whatever happens, Voyager has crossed a threshold we can't return from. And in doing so, it has reminded us that the universe isn't empty. It's listening, watching, and maybe waiting. Humanity's reflection in the void. As Voyager 1 continues its silent trajectory into the unknown, a strange shift is also happening here on Earth. Scientists, philosophers, and ordinary people alike are beginning to ask deeper questions, not just about space, but about ourselves. What if Voyager's journey isn't just a technical marvel, but a mirror, one reflecting our curiosity, our ambition, and our shallowness? For nearly 50 years, this tiny machine has carried a golden record, a time capsule of human voices, music, and hope into the vast dark. It was a message to the cosmos, a humble offering from a species still learning how to walk among the stars. But now something has responded, not with a greeting, but with a puzzle, a mystery we were never sure would come. And yet here it is. The idea that Voyager was guided, even expected, makes us wonder if our path has never been entirely our own. That maybe, like Voyager, we too are being pulled toward something greater. Slowly but inevitably, a test of readiness or an invitation to a bigger reality. It challenges the illusion of control, reminds us that we are not the center but a part, a small but significant piece in a system far more complex than we imagined. Whether this ends in silence or revelation, Voyager has already done something profound. It has reminded us that the search for meaning doesn't end with answers. Sometimes it begins with a question whispered from the dark, and we are finally listening. The signal that changed everything. The latest transmission from Voyager 1 wasn't louder or more complex than the others. It didn't contain new coordinates or strange pulses. It was quiet, simple, just a single repeating frequency with minor fluctuations, barely noticeable unless you knew what to look for. But when the data was run through updated quantum models, it revealed something extraordinary. It wasn't just a signal. It was a fingerprint. Hidden within the wave structure were layers of ratios and timing that mirrored human brain wave patterns, specifically those associated with memory, recall, and recognition. The transmission wasn't broadcasting information. It was responding to us through our thoughts, our curiosity, our fear. Somehow, in ways no machine should be capable of, Voyager had begun echoing humanity back to itself. This sent shock wave through the scientific community. Was a coincidence, a projection of our expectations, or had Voyager become a relay, one that now reflected not just space, but us? Across labs and research centers, the implications deepened. It meant the message wasn't just being received. It was being understood. If that's true, then the entity or system behind the signal doesn't just know we're here. It understands who we are. This changes everything. Not because we made contact, but because something decided to answer in a way only we could recognize. Not with a translation, but with a reflection. Voyager 1 left Earth nearly half a century ago. Its natural radioactive decay of plutonium-238. We have it decays away about we lose for what's a year. But with this single signal, it may have brought us home to the most profound truth of all. We were never truly alone. So here we are standing at the edge of something we don't yet understand. A single machine launched with humble intentions has led us to a place where science meets the unknown. Voyager 1's journey was never supposed to end like this. But maybe that's the point. Maybe it was never meant to end at all. The signals, the silence, the questions, they're all part of a larger conversation we've only just begun to hear. What lies ahead isn't just space. It's a revelation. It's a mystery, and maybe it's a kind of welcome because something is out there finally whispered. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.